Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Sonal Dave, and I'm an award winning Celebrant, Toastmaster, and public speaking expert. And I'm really excited to be back here with you all today. It is the final interview for my expert series, and this series has all been about interviewing individuals who have a neurodiverse condition, or a parent or carer who looks after a child or an adult with a neurodiverse condition, or somebody who works in the workplace or a school where they are looking after or employing somebody who has a neurodiverse condition. And why am I so excited today? You're probably all wondering. Hopefully, you've seen the posts across social media, but it is an absolute honor and pleasure to have Shammi Kapoor here with me today. So it's a big round of applause and a little bit of a drum roll, and let's get him on. Hey,
Hey,
Shammi.
hello.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm really excited to
Yeah.
actually interview you. I've so many questions to ask you. Um, and I'm going to start with there'll be people watching now, as well as some people who'll be watching later. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, well, so I'm the founder of Brain Abilities. So we're a brain center which enhances people's core cognitive skills. All we basically do is we do assessments, and then we train the brain like it's a muscle to enhance basically all the areas which make up human intelligence, basically.
And so tell me a little bit more about you, Shammi, growing up from, a young baby child, naughty teenager maybe, into a young adult, into the fully grown, handsome adult that you are now. Tell us all a little bit more about that journey.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up as a child and basically with autism, so experienced all the blessings as well as all the hardships that that sort of condition brought me. Um, so as in, yeah, so it all really, I would say it all started when like noticeably at school. For example, it was my first day of school, and I was just wondering, like, you know, where am I? Why are there other people here my age? Why are we all wearing the same thing? How are they all sort of like communicating? And like, I just found it really weird, like they're all doing that, like without it being taught to them. So I was always like looking at the world, never able to participate in it. That's and then like loads of other like traumas going through school, like because weak cognitive ability, unable to do much. So like I'd be bullied a lot. So my school life was basically like kids in the playground used to hit me as hard as they could because they thought it didn't hurt me. Like because of my condition in those days, I couldn't express pain. So like people would come and like give me a whack, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt this guy. Let's call older kids, let's call kids from year 10, 11, 12. And like, you should punch this guy. It doesn't hurt him. Like, watch, nothing happens," that sort of thing. That was, yeah, my playground life. Academic life was basically me sitting in the back of the class, just rocking uh, in my unicorn land, just rocking around and uh, basically failing every test that ever came to me. And yeah, like all the way through. GCSEs, yeah, was a nightmare. All of that stuff, just couldn't participate. Yeah, and then so basically, when I was about 19 years old, one of my clinical psychologists recommended me to a brain center in Dubai, and this is after like basically going around the system my whole life. The best thing, like, okay, growing up in Dubai, we basically have like like the best of every sort of country there. Like we have the best of Germany, we have the best of America, all in like within a 20-kilometer drive of each other. So I was able to access and like overlook and like see basically everything, like the system, how they do things my whole life. But it wasn't until I was about 19 that one of my clinical psychologists recommended me to this brain center that my life changed. So I went from someone like couldn't really speak properly, and then started to speak, eventually speaking like to friends and family, like properly, like I could speak, but like in 3-4 word sentences, never like a full sentence. It's only really been since I visited that brain center. Within that 6-month period, I went from someone who couldn't really read to then like reading, being able to read as a hobby. And then obviously I was in university at the time. So I went from, you know what I mean, like being a W or an F student to be getting my first ever A's in formal education. So when the brain center changed my life, I was basically like, you know, I can't get on with things as normal. I want to learn what happened to me. So I asked that center for an internship, eventually started working there, eventually became a trainer there, so a cognitive development coach. And what was crazy is that when I was training people with a similar background to me, like I could see things before they would even do it, because all I was really doing was accessing like my memory bank of, okay, when I was that age, what would I have been doing if I was struggling, that kind of thing. So the neuroscientists there and the other facilitators, they were like quite like surprised. Like, how did you know that? I was like, you know, I mean, I lived it. I know it. Like, I'm just looking at, yeah, literally a 12-year-old me. I'm looking at an 8-year-old me. Because at the end of the day, like when you get into like the nitty gritty of like cognitive strengths and weaknesses, cognitive difficulty is always got like the similar algorithm. Doesn't matter really what label someone has. So yeah, so as in, you know what I mean? So like, so in that internship, I enjoyed it so much. So obviously I knew I was going to do that for the rest of my life. Like there was no way I could go back to business as normal. Then eventually, yeah, launched my own brain center in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, went back to university, and then got blackmailed to participating in the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. I won, yeah, Dubai and UAE champion. That was back in 2018, and yeah, it's all, yeah. And we've been operational in the UK since about 2016. But
Do you
that's the
know,
brain.
I want to pick up on one thing you said, Shammi, right at the beginning. You said it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
You said that it was a blessing as well as painful. So when you talk about, so not many people will openly say, all right, I've got autism, I've got ADHD, I've got dyslexia, I've got dyscalculia, and it's a blessing. So explain that to me. Why do you come out so freely, so honestly, so openly and say, actually, it was a blessing?
As in, yeah, obviously I didn't think like that every day, but like as the years went on, yeah, it's evolved into that. But as in, I just find normal boring. You know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, as in, uh, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so it's just like different sort of brain access, and like like anyone that I feel goes like gets a label. Like if you put them under the wire, they've got so many gifts. In fact, probably more gifts than the weaknesses, basically. Um, you know,
And do you know, it's so true what you're saying is about they've got more gifts.
yeah.
So everyone I've been speaking to has really opened my mind as
Mhm.
well to, if you give somebody the opportunity and the space, their creativity is just out of this
Mhm.
world. It's amazing. It's out of this world.
And
And
also,
what I
yeah.
find, and you will, I'm hoping you'll agree, is that the education system as such, it's very kind of, here's a box, let's put you in the box and let's sit you behind a desk and let's teach you. So it's not very creative in its own description and the way it's set up. So
Mhm.
you often don't even allow children or adults to really open up their creative mind and, you know, be the more awesome person that they could be, because we're quite functional in the way we sit behind a chair. We must learn from the teacher who's standing at the board. And actually, I think what I'm learning from everyone that I've spoken to is that we need to kind of move away from that. We need to
Mhm.
kind of, kind of give clear space and allow people to kind of grow and become better versions and creatives. And Yeah, I mean, because I look at you and I remember meeting you many years ago through Zamiha
Yeah.
at an event. And I remember somebody said to me, "Oh, that's Shammi." And, he runs this company. It's all to do with brains. And he had a difficult life. And I've heard you today saying, yeah, it was difficult, but actually it was a blessing. And
Mhm.
not many of us would be brave enough to say that. So I really do applaud and
Mhm.
respect you for doing that because in the Asian community, what I'm finding, Shami, is that many people will hide behind closed doors so that people don't find out that their child has, autism, ADHD, or any of the other conditions, the labeled conditions that are there, or that they themselves have it. Whereas research is showing that when a child goes through a diagnosis, the lengthy process that we have here in the UK, and they get a diagnosis, sometimes the parent and even the grandparent is kind of going, hold on, that was me
Mhm.
when I was a child. And I just feel like seeing somebody like you who's so successful, as in you're funny, you're intelligent, you're creative. Hey, you're the CEO of Brain Abilities. You're almost like a beacon of light, showing people that you almost need to push those labels aside
Mhm.
and be just awesome and be you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why the main thing about what we do is we never ever go into the label. All we're doing is we're assessing the cognitive profile, basically.
And when you say the cognitive profile, for those people who may not know what
Mhm.
cognitive profile is, what is cognitive profiling?
Okay. So I'll give you like an example. Like for example, someone comes to me with ASD, autism. We put them under the radar. It's basically they'll have more weaknesses around the speech side. Sometimes very gifted visually. Somebody comes to me with dyslexia. They'll have weaknesses around the core reading skills, the auditory processing, also the short-term memory. Someone comes with ADHD. We put them under the cognitive screening. All we're seeing short-term memory weakness, impulse weakness, and that's all we see. And then we're like, okay, we can train impulsivity, we can train your short-term memory, and that's all we're doing basically. And sometimes they come like I'll get 5 people with ASD, very different cognitive profiles, but that's why I'm like the world I'm trying to create is basically transcend all of the labeling, all of the tradition, only focus on basically let's just compare what gets the best outcomes, what gets the best results, and implement it. And if it's not being implemented, it's fine. We have to create our own world. Basically, that's where I'm at in the last couple of years. Basically,
And so I suppose your way of looking at this is let's not throw pills at this, so they become pill poppers by the time they're 8 years old.
Mhm.
Let's actually look at the individual as a unique person. Let's
Yeah,
see where are the weaknesses that we can work with
yeah,
to develop them so that they become
yeah.
strengths. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and what does that journey look like? Let's just
Okay.
say
Yeah.
I've walked into you and said, I just don't understand what's going on. I'm a doctor, I'm educated, I'm, well respected, but there's just something going on and I don't know what it is. What would
Mhm.
be the process?
Yeah, so going back to the pills thing earlier, no, I'll address that. So yeah, because basically everyone has their journey. Even I went through the journey of having to see like I would not have known like anything unless because when I first tried the pills, at least it showed me a reality whereby wow, I could actually be a bit more in this dimension than my own dimension. But it was just unsustainable. Basically, like because I would wake up like and I wouldn't be able to function unless I popped the blue pill, and
Mm.
like I was hardcore, like I was on 80 milligrams of this stuff, and like you give an elephant 2 milligrams, but I was on 80, but you know what I mean. Everyone, I would say they would all eventually have to try everything before they find out what works for them. And that's what the journey looks like. It is a lot of hit and miss and going around, trying everything. Because if I didn't try everything, I wouldn't have known everything. Then if I didn't try it, I would have been like, oh, you never know. Maybe that would have been the successful treatment for me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then,
Absolutely.
so you as a doctor coming
Yeah.
to assess your cognitive skills. So,
Yeah. So
okay.
I'm worried because, I'm a doctor and I'm respected and I'm educated and, I treat people, but something's wrong, Shammi. Help me out. How would this process be for me?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we always, like we'll be in a consultation, we'd obviously discuss what do you mean by what's wrong, and like we go deeper. But basically, it would mostly come out after an assessment, basically. Or
So
yeah,
is the assessment you making me add up figures, or is an assessment you asking me to read sentences, or does it depend
a
on
mixture of all
okay,
7 areas which make up what you do on a daily basis,
wow.
and so a mixture of all of them, and basically, and obviously, other stuff as well, like how good are you with time pressure, all of that stuff. As in and impulse control, because there are 7 like official areas, but we're always measuring these invisible areas which you can't really like, as in there are ways, but you know what I mean, like we just drill. It's more like, you know what I mean, we're throwing cognitive tasks at you, seeing how you attempt it, and that's basically a reflection of your life. For example, it's a lot like like in Karate Kid, when like he's training the kid, and the kid, he's going wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, and you're thinking, why is he making me do this? And then he goes into his life, he's about to be hit, and he just naturally deflects it, wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very similar. So the brain has skills, basically. uh, yeah. And
No,
it goes on, like the rabbit hole doesn't end, but yeah, it just depends on how weird you want to get.
no, and it's interesting you say that because often it's some of the smaller things we do in life that
Mhm,
actually become our habit, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, when
mhm,
when my mum, God bless her, is no longer physically here, but she would go in the kitchen and
mhm,
almost with her eyes closed, she knew where all the saucepans were and
mhm.
where the flour was and how to make the chapatis, and she wouldn't even really be thinking about
Yeah,
it. It would
yeah.
just happen.
Habit.
And that's from years and years of just doing
Mhm,
it, where it's
mhm.
now become a habit. And when you kind of break it down into some of those real basic things that we're talking about, cooking, cleaning, going to the bath, taking the dogs for a walk,
Mhm.
when you do it often, it becomes part of your memory mass, right?
And
And
that's what we're doing here as well. So it depends, like, oh, I have a weakness in reading. It's like, no, you just haven't basically done it enough, basically. Like we've had like teenage girls coming in here. So like, although like they have very, like they're good with their version of chapati making, but it's like, you know what I mean? If you throw a P and a B at them, they can't tell the difference and they're crying, but basically it's imprinted. Whereas no, we're like, okay, handle, this is a P, this is a B, now let's go, let's drill. Eventually, you know what I mean, it becomes a skill they can use forever. And then eventually, hated reading before, now it's like, oh, I'd rather read than watch the TV, like, because my brain finds it more stimulating. It's more,
yeah,
you in
I don't
alignment.
think we I don't think we give the brain enough credit, do we?
It's only the
For
number one tool which makes up your life.
exactly. I think
Only.
we just accept that it's there and it
Mhm.
collects stuff and things happen, but actually I don't think we give the brain enough credit for actually how it helps us. I suppose when they talk about survival of the fittest,
Mhm.
almost if your brain's fit, you are definitely going to be survival of
Mhm.
the fittest because your
Yeah.
brain will help you to work out what to do even if physically you may not be able to do something, but the brain will be able to. And I only talk about this from my own experience, so I don't have any of those labels, but I do have the label of disability. And with that label of disability, it's physical disability as well
Mhm.
as a hidden disability. But what that does mean is that I'm not going to lift a 10-kilogram
Yeah.
bag of
Yeah.
something. However, brain might say, well, hold on, see if you can borrow
Yeah.
hubby's music trolley, and you can get it under the trolley, and then it's on the trolley, and then it's easier.
Hmm.
Whereas if I just focused on, yeah, that's a 10-kilogram bag of
Hmm.
flour,
Hmm.
um, it's not going to move, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, our brains are just so powerful, and I kind of wish, there are so many things I want to change in the school syllabus, from having
Hmm.
life skills, brain training, financial training, organizational training, all the things that help individuals be, unique and just creative and just be awesome versions of themselves.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Shammi
Ab-
doesn't want to be Sonal, and Sonal doesn't want to be Shammi, because Shammi is
Mhm.
Shammi and Sonal is Sonal.
Absolutely.
Um, so that's why I love what you're doing with Brain
Mhm.
Abilities. And where do you think you want to take the business as the
Okay.
CEO in, say, the next 3 years?
Brain Abilities will always be a brain center, which is available for everyone in the community to come and enhance their brain. Me personally is, yeah, designing an alternative education system for my race of people. So, so yeah, mainly uh, the highest needs, I would say, adults age 19 and above. uh, yeah, that's, I mean, like after that sort of school college stage, there is really nothing for them. So it's just straight, very, a very like, not, it's like a fun, intensive curriculum, but basically with like it doesn't matter where you are. Basically, within 6 months, a year, depending on the case, you will be employable. Like it's just like,
Brilliant.
yeah, as in,
No,
yeah, without a
that's
shadow of doubt, basically. Oh.
yeah, that's like so exciting, because
Mhm.
you're right. It's almost like if it's spotted, you may go through this process, and you may then get, they have an assistant, don't they, at school, who would help you at school as a learning assistant,
Mhm.
or you may end up going to a specific school, which is for people who are, have any of those conditions. Um, but actually, once you become an adult, and then what?
Mhm.
What's the scenario? What does life have for you
Mhm.
after that?
Yeah.
And then what? It's kind of like, see if you can find yourself a packing job in Tesco's or something, and it's, that's it. It's the limit of what.
Or
But
the way I'm training my race of people, it's going to be, let's replace Tosco. No, I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely
like all the
no, and I
individual training and yeah, all of that stuff basically, and
and I
the
think that
skill behind the skill. Yeah.
yeah, that ambition, Shami, don't ever lose that light of ambition, because I think each of us in our own ways, I'm meeting more and more people who, almost if we held hands, we would be helping different people
Hmm.
be better versions of themselves, to be able to actually, do what they want to do, and do what they want to be able to achieve, what they want to achieve, and have a successful life. Because we're almost kind of saying, well, yeah, so you've got 7 A stars and 3 degrees. Now what? You're in a population of how many, and everyone wants that same job.
Hmm.
Why don't you stand out from the crowd and be different?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and that's my kind of journey I'm on, where I'm saying
And
to
it's
people, don't follow expectations. Do what you want.
and this whole stuff, like it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. All we need is to like meet people, like get everyone's needs met, and like it's just so like, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's easier in theory, but basically, it's all just meeting people's needs. When you meet people's needs, that's it. None of the other problems stem. Basically, it's all
Yeah.
taken care of. Yeah,
Because they all kind of just filter away, don't they?
yeah,
Because once you meet
yeah,
people's needs, they're able to
yeah,
focus, they're able to survive
yeah,
themselves, and therefore they're able to manage.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and yeah, and learning how to do it themselves, and basically, yeah, all of the other stuff just doesn't exist. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
no, absolutely. Shami, if I asked you, who is your favorite superhero, who would that be?
Um, well, Powerpuff Girls, obviously. Uh, Uh, yeah, no, as in, like, I haven't been into this stuff since I was like a kid, but as in, yeah, like I like, the idea of, like the Batman, like has a mainstream, you know what I mean? Like I'm very similar, has a mainstream face, but then like does all this stuff like behind the scenes and stuff, which no one, you know what I mean? I relate a lot to Batman. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like human does, yeah, behind the scenes, yeah, yeah.
No. Oh, and I kind of did wonder if it was going to be Batman or Superman. But
Mm,
Batman, yeah, I can relate to that because we see Shammi, but what Shammi does behind the scenes,
uh,
is he's got this huge agenda but he's so fixated in making this happen because he knows it's the right thing to do,
uh,
as Batman was getting rid of all the criminals because he knew that was the right thing to do. So, yeah,
mhm.
no, I totally love that. What is your favorite animal, Shami?
I love all the animals. Yeah, like yeah, yeah, like dogs are drawn to me. Like yeah, cats are drawn to me. Yeah, like yeah, I don't have favorite. Yeah, as in yeah,
Uh, so
I'm
you
like
like
yeah,
all animals, small, big, spiders? Yeah.
as in like don't get me wrong. Like as I've changed, like I tolerate them. Yeah, a lot more. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like like you know what I mean, like because you know what I mean, as you're training your like you know what I mean, as you're training in self-development, you're training your fears as well. So like in the old days it'll be like, oh no, I'm huge, but now it'll be like, oh, are you in my room, really? Oh, well, should we go outside? You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
all of that
See,
stuff.
because yeah, no, I'll just be like, Dan, hubby,
Hmm.
Dan, spider. And then either
Hmm.
Dan or one of the two dogs will come and sort it out, which
Hmm.
is great. So you'll have to come and see the two dogs one day. I have two big
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah, yeah.
And
Go for a nice
um,
walk. Yeah,
yeah, no, you'll love them. Or should I
yeah.
say, they will love you. Both of them will absolutely love you. And Shami, if there was one message that you wanted to share with anyone who's sitting at home, whether they're a child or they're an adult, and they're thinking, do you know what? I've been diagnosed with a neurodiverse condition. My life is over. What would your message be to somebody who's feeling quite down and lonely about um, the life they're leading because of their diagnosis? What message would you give to them?
It's basically yeah. I would just say it's kind of like a sentence, like to like there's kind of once you're there, but like once you go around and like eventually there's a point where it's like okay, it's basically like a sentence to like non-stop sort of studying and gaining like a lot of knowledge which empowers you basically. So it's just going down, yeah, it's basically when I say like okay, diagnosis or any like sort of uh hiccup life gives you, it's always wow, okay, it's all just you've been sentenced to a personal development journey. That's all it is. Are you? Yeah. Are we playing ball basically, or
Oh, I
are we
love
going to?
that.
Are we going to be ring grounding for another 2-3 years, or it's just basically how long? And also, it's the process once you're there as well of maintaining it. And it's basically all you're doing is like like obviously there are loads of things out there and like loads of ways to discuss this sort of stuff, but like literally now I'm just like nah, basically, there's more than enough like data out there which shows you what works. It's just about whether you're playing ball. Basically, it is a very hard process. At least it seems that way at first because you know, to get like it depends on what it is, but like from my story, turning disabilities into abilities, like it's not your normal ball game. And like there is no other way to do it other than literally you have to become someone else. And that's the whole transformation journey. And when you're doing that and you're aiming for your new intention, the old personality, the old biology, all your genes, all your neurons, like the old ones are literally they're bleeding out. And when they're bleeding out, it might seem like a hard process, but that's all it is basically. And then the new coherent neurons, the new coherent whatever you want to entrain gets more dominant, and that entrains the old genes, the old neurons, the old biology to do the same basically. But it's just, I would just say it's a sentence to personal development.
Yeah. I love it. I love the way you describe that, because it's so easy to just go, oh no, oh, my life has ended.
Mm,
I'm just going to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix. Um, or you could kind of go, okay, now I
yeah.
know. What am I going to do about it?
It's all about how long for, because don't forget that was me for 19 years.
Yeah.
It's all, yeah, yeah.
But no, I just love that. I just love that way how you can, okay, accept,
Mm,
but now what? Am I
mm-hmm.
going to make this a positive journey by continuous learning, finding out more, understanding more? We always talk about
Yeah,
being aware,
yeah,
educating, and understanding.
yeah,
And that journey actually will bring you out of that
yeah.
loneliness, bring you out of that feeling like there is nothing else. And actually, hopefully, it will help you also to meet other people. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you meet other people, you're on a journey together. And when that
Mm-hmm.
journey is together with somebody, wow, together you can just make such a difference. I mean, I look at you and I think, were you doing this like on your own
What's that like?
in your journey? I mean, I know your parents were there, but
Yeah,
as
don't
a,
get 19. It was very much a mainstream sort of life with ASD, going bang, getting hit left, right, and center. Like literally every day of my life, something was exploding in my face, basically. Like, you know what I mean? But like, don't forget, when you're in that state, when I was like younger, anything was enough to cause trauma. Anything. I could not flush a toilet till I was like 12 years old because of my oversensitive hearing. You know what I mean? Like I had to like, you know what I mean? That just part of your daily life. So traumatic. Flushing the
yeah,
toilet. I could like, it was too loud, like for my senses. Car horns, don't get me started, you know? Okay, but like
yeah.
now it's a gift. Like, you know, if someone is driving up to assassinate me, I'll be able to hear them. Like when they're like 5 minutes down the road, I'll be able to hear them. So I'm all right, you know? Like,
It's funny, because when we were talking about animals earlier, like the other day, my dogs were barking, and I was wondering, why are they barking at the sky? There's nothing happening. And like 10 minutes later, there was thunder. Like
mhm,
they were hearing it in the distance
yeah.
well before we actually,
Mhm,
human ears were hearing it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, if you've got that, oh, then fireworks must have been a nightmare when you were younger as well. God, those fireworks that are going on at the moment. But
Honest, anything,
you can also
anything
see
sound
the
was
beauty of
traumatic.
it as well, right? Isn't it? There's
Mhm.
the bang and then there's the beauty.
Yeah, and then there's the
Um,
seeing things before anyone else sees it, the precognitive abilities, the clairvoyance, all of that stuff is all in there basically. But and it also shows you because you imagine you went your whole life not speaking, just observing, then you know what I mean? You figure things out a lot more quicker. You know what I mean? Like normal, I just don't like for me it's weird, but like you know what I mean? Like in my world, this is weird. Like you know what I mean? Like something happens back and someone goes, what was that? By the time you say what was that, like someone like me is processed it, boom, acting on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes before it happens. You know what I mean? Uh, and that's where I
yeah.
think a lot of like their frustrations come from as well. There's a lot of seeing,
Yeah,
yeah,
no. And do you know what? I just look at you and I just think you've got so much to give, so much knowledge to share. And if there's anything I can do to help open doors, or I'm always, if any parent contacts me, I'm always directing them to
yeah,
you anyway.
yeah.
But if
Yeah.
there is anything else that I can help with, just you or mum just got to get in touch and just let me know,
Yeah.
and I'm absolutely happy to.
Yeah, I see you, giving hundreds of people a voice in the future. If you want
Um,
to come and be on the land, basically. But yeah,
yeah,
giving voice to people, like, yeah,
and it's
love it.
important because there are a lot of amazing voices out there with
Mhm,
so much to share to help, the awareness, the education, and the understanding journey. Because one of the things I would love to be able to do, and I can see it with the work that you do as well through Brain Abilities, is to help the world be a kinder place. But you can't be kind
mhm,
unless you do actually understand things.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
If a child's having a tantrum, don't
mhm.
assume it's because the mother doesn't know how to look after the child. It
Yeah,
could be a voice. It could be the
yeah,
frequency of a voice. It could be that ding dong bell, the frequency of it. There
mhm,
is so much, that we need to do. And I I'm a little person, you're a tall person. But doing what we do in our individual worlds, we're trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important part of it. And that's why I just so love what the company does. And I do feel whenever anyone reaches out to me, I will say, look, just go to Brain Abilities, have an assessment, see what they can help you with, because it's only going to help you or your child be a better person. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, wish the company like so much love, support, and success in everything that I know you're trying to achieve, whether it's Shammi who we see or whether it's Shammi behind the scenes who's building
Mm-hmm.
this empire. And I just know that you're going to be so successful in everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are most, most welcome. I am now going to just drop you into the waiting room and then stay there, and I will be back very shortly.
Thank you. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
So there you go. That's Shammi Kapoor. Awesome, right? Absolutely awesome what the company does. I mean, not only when I look at Shammi and his journey, and everything he went through in his journey, and yet he still called some of it a blessing for who he is today and what he has been able to achieve. So for those of you, if you've got any questions for Shammi, you can pass them through to me, or very soon we'll be putting out his details as well, so you can contact Shammi directly. But in the meantime, take care. Have a fabulous day and the rest of the year ahead. This is me, Sonal Dave, your award-winning Celebrant, Toastmaster and public speaking expert. And it's been an absolute joy today interviewing Shammi Kapoor, CEO of Brain Abilities.